Hello and welcome back to Movie Reviews. As I said in the last review, I saw two movies tonight. The first one was The Conjuring, so if you're watching this one first, go back and watch that one. The second movie I saw tonight was The Wolverine. I was actually looking forward to this movie since I first saw the poster for it. However, it was a decent film, but it didn't quite live up to my expectations. It's basically, if you follow the comics, it's the Silver Samurai storyline. Again, one of the stories I haven't read, that came out around the time that I stopped following comics for a while. But I know the basis of the story behind the Silver Samurai, and like I said, it wasn't that it was a bad film. It was decent, but it just, in my opinion, it could have been a lot better. Honestly, back when Man of Steel came out, I said I thought I was getting burned out on the superhero movies. Had this came out prior to Man of Steel, I probably wouldn't have even bothered with Man of Steel, because I'm just getting back to that burnt out feeling when I watched this. Like, it didn't really draw me in, it wasn't, I was watching it because I'm a comic book fan, I like Wolverine, I like the X-Men, and I wanted to see, how it was, and it killed time, basically. I mean, I wasn't disappointed in watching it. It just, like I said, just didn't draw me in. A lot people can badmouth X-Men Origins Wolverine all they want, but at least that kept me intrigued through the story. Again, I know most of the backstory that was in that as well, but again, that was a comic I didn't read. I just kind of found out about it afterwards. But then I saw that movie and I was like, okay, so that's playing to this part of the comic. But, people badmouth that one, and yeah, I agree on the shit with Deadpool, but for the most part, I actually liked X-Men Origins Wolverine, and sad to say, I actually liked it better than this one. So let's get into the premise, enough rambling. So Wolverine is being Wolverine. Well, he's not being Wolverine. He's, because of what happened in X-Men 3 with the death of Jean Grey, he's, I'm done fighting, I'm not going to hurt anyone anymore, I'm just going to go live in the woods and be by myself. So he moves up to Canada, up into, I think they say he's in the Yukon. So he's living in the woods up in Canada, and he goes into town for supplies and whatnot, but for the most part he just keeps to himself. And he goes back into town because some hunters kill a bear that he's somewhat friends with, I guess. It's kind of like his pet. Not really his pet, but they kind of have respect for each other, like, we both live here in the woods, you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone type of thing. So when he finds the bear suffering, so he has to put it out of its misery, and then he gets pissed off and goes into town to confront the hunters. And right when he's about to kick everyone's ass is when, they never really call her they call her by her real name, but they never call her by a comic book character name, so I'm not sure if, I want to say she was Lady Deathstrike, but the story of Lady Deathstrike actually confuses me a little, because I thought Lady Deathstrike was in the other X-Men movie, but people actually told me that wasn't Lady Deathstrike, that was another character that's similar to Lady Deathstrike, that, what the hell is her name, like X-32 or something, I forget what the hell they called her, but, yeah, so I was a little confused on that, because I was like, well, didn't they already introduce Deathstrike in the other one? No, that was this other character, so she's going to be in this one. So, okay, which it still might not be Deathstrike, because I remember Deathstrike having claws, and this girl used swords. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly who she was supposed to be, so I'll just call her Deathstrike, so if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. So Deathstrike shows up, or we'll just call her the redheaded girl, because she had red hair. So she shows up at the bar and tells him, I was sent to find you and to give you this sword and a message. So he says, "What's the message?" And she says, because he recognizes where the sword's from, and she says, "My master's dying, and he wanted to say a final goodbye to you." So Wolverine agrees to go to Japan to, say his final goodbyes to this guy. And they kind of do a flashback to where, I want to say it was Iwo Jima, or like right in that area when U.S. dropped the bombs and destroyed everything. Wolverine, I guess, was over there, and he was a prisoner of war or something. And when they saw the bombs coming in, this one guard started letting all the prisoners free. He's like, if we're going to die, you can at least try to survive. And as he's letting the prisoners out, other guards are opening fire on him. He's like, no, stop shooting, let him go. So he goes to open because they got Wolverine like locked in this well. So he goes to open the well to let Wolverine out, and he's like, run. And Wolverine says, there's no place to run. I'm actually safer down here. You should come down. And the guy just kind of turns around and sees all the other guards are, forget the damn name of the ritual, but it's basically a suicide ritual where you pull out your shorter sword and you fall onto it. I used to know the name of it, but I can't think of it right now. So he's down getting ready to do that, but he decides, before he actually falls on his sword, the bomb hits. So right as he's watching the flash, Wolverine grabs him and says, run. So they run back and jump into the well. And they can't pull the door close, the top door closed, because they're down in the well. So Wolverine grabs this big sheet of metal and like holds it over the guy so that the heat kind of dissipates around him instead of burning him. But in the meantime, Wolverine is like being completely destroyed, kind of, all his flesh is being burned off and everything. So then, once it's done, he lets the guy up, takes the metal off him, and the guy sees that he's completely burned, but then he sees that he's starting to heal, like rapidly fast. And then Wolverine's basically like, we gotta stay down here till, the fallout clears. So they stay down there for however many days it is, talking and getting to know each other. And then it cuts back to modern time in Japan. And he goes and sees the guy, and the guy says, I've been doing research, and he goes, I understand the pain of your immortality. He goes, I believe that your power can be taken away, or you can get rid of this power and become mortal. He goes, I believe it can be not taken care of, not gotten rid of, but transferred. He says, I can transfer the power to somebody else. So Wolverine says, so basically you would want me to give up and die, so that you can have my ability. And the guy goes, no, you wouldn't have to die. You would still be able to live the remainder of your life out. He goes, you're roughly 30s, 40s, whatever, so you would still have a couple decades ahead of you before your life would end. You just wouldn't have the burden of being immortal anymore. So Wolverine says, let me sleep on it, and as he's sleeping on it, the guy dies. So it's too late, but or they make it look like he died, I should say, because if you know the story, you know that he's not dead. So Wolverine's dealing with all that. He goes to the funeral the next day, and the guy's daughter, or no, it's his granddaughter, gets kidnapped by the Yakuza. So Wolverine's trying to get her back and save her, and finds out that as he's getting shot, he's not healing properly, so his power's been taken away, basically. So then he gets her back, and he's trying to get her back to a safe place, so they're kind of hiding out, and he ends up passing out from blood loss, and she gets him to it's a veterinarian, but, he pulls the bullets out and, sews him up and bandages him and everything. So Wolverine wakes up to thank him, and apparently as he was pulling the bullets out, Wolverine kind of slashed at him with the claws, so the guy's a little bit afraid of him. So then they get to a safe house, and Wolverine realizes that where they're at is right where the bomb had dropped. So, he kind of talks to her about, I was here, this happened, this happened, this happened. So then they get back to, she ends up getting kidnapped again from there, and Wolverine's able to track her and finds out where she's at, and goes in to save her, with the help of the other girl, the redheaded chick, Deathstrike, whatever you want to call her. So they both go in together to kind of save her, and that's when Wolverine finds out the guy's not dead. He's actually in this giant robotic suit made of adamantium, which is the Silver Samurai suit. And he's battling against Wolverine's battling against the Silver Samurai, and he's actually losing. The Silver Samurai, through the use of the suit, actually starts to draw the Wolverine's power away from him. Before that, Wolverine actually, after she gets kidnapped and the redheaded girl comes to team back up with him, he finds out that his powers aren't gone, they're just being masked by this nanobot that's inside of him. So he cuts himself open, and he's pulling out the nanobot. So then they find out where the girl's at. They go to rescue her. He starts battling the Silver Samurai, and the Silver Samurai actually is winning and starts to draw the power out of Wolverine. And as he's drawing it out, he gets younger, and Wolverine starts to rapidly age, which is weird because the way he described it, Wolverine wouldn't have aged. He would have just stayed the way he was. So unless he was just lying and he knew Wolverine wouldn't agree to be a 90-year-old man. So that's why they did it this way. So Wolverine's able to overcome the Silver Samurai and gets his youth back through the help of the other people that are there. And he ends up beating the Silver Samurai. The Silver Samurai dies. The granddaughter takes over the corporation, and he goes back on his merry way. He's done hiding in the woods. It's never really clear where he's going, but he says that he's not going to go back to hiding in the woods. He is what he is, and he can't hide from that. So he's at the airport. He's getting ready to fly back to America, I think. And everything starts to go crazy. And he turns around, and Magneto's standing there. And Magneto says, oh yeah, spoiler. Magneto's standing there, and Magneto says, I need your help. And Wolverine goes, there's nothing that could ever make me help you. And then Magneto says, you'd be surprised what can happen. And then all time kind of stops. And he turns around, and Xavier's there in his wheelchair. And he goes, how are you here? I saw you die. And he says, things aren't always as they appear, and credits. So that's leading into the next X-Men movie. I know they're going to do X-Men First Class Part 2, which I think has another name. The posters they have out for that right now, that we just put up the other day, shows Patrick Stewart and Magneto. I forget his damn name. Ewan McGregor, is that it? Anyway, Magneto, it shows their face with the X through it, and in the X is the younger versions from First Class. So it looks like First Class Part 2 is going to be the bridge between First Class and X-Men Part 1, which was out a long time ago. So it's going to be a prequel leading into the originals. Which I then thought was going to lead into X-Men 4, but someone told me they're going to do, what the hell's the name of that series? Futures Past or whatever. It's kind of the one that was shown occasionally in the animated series when they're in an alternate timeline where, like, Wolverine's married to Storm and all the Sentinels and stuff were, you know, it was like the Mutant Registration Act was in full effect, and it was like renegade mutants fighting the government. I don't know if they're going to go into all of that in the next X-Men movie, but apparently they're going to do that before they actually do X-Men 4, which would be kind of weird because it would make more sense to just have that be X-Men 4 and that Wolverine has to set time right or whatever. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I haven't really read much into what's coming up over the next couple years other than Thor and Captain America 2 and Avengers 2. So as far as the other comic book movies, I'm not sure what's coming yet. I know there's X-Men First Class Part 2, which I think has a different name now. So other than that, that's basically the movie. Like I said, I enjoyed the movie, but there were parts where it just dragged. They could have... I mean, yeah, they're following the story, but at the same time, they could have done more with it. You know, speed it up in certain parts, add more depth to other parts. So it wasn't a bad movie. If you like Wolverine, you'll probably enjoy it, but it does drag a bit, so be prepared for a little bit of boredom at times. As far as a star rating, I'm going to have to go with a 3. I mean, I was really hoping to give it a 4 or at most a 3.5, but it just didn't keep me drawn in enough to do that. So yeah, we're going to go with a 3 on this one. I mean, it's not a bad movie, but it could have been better. Do I recommend it if you're into Wolverine and you're into the X-Men films and comic books in general? Sure, check it out. But yeah, that's my opinion on it. You may have a differing opinion. You may have loved it. One of my friends the other day actually said that he didn't like Man of Steel, but he liked After Earth. And I was like, how the hell could you like After Earth? That movie was garbage. But anyway, that's a totally different story. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. You might have your opinion. So watch it and feel free to leave a comment. Let me know if you agree with me or if you think I'm wrong or whatever. So that's it for this one. Not sure what I'll get around to seeing next. I'll be back with something though. Like I said, a lot of movies open in August, so it's going to be probably a lot more of these coming soon. If I can buy more tapes. Other than that, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the movies.